Hey up everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well and you're looking after yourselves. Today's video is going to be the Parramatta Eels, and as a Parramatta supporter I'm going to go through some of my favourite ever victories over other clubs. So I've compiled a list of about 10 games, 10 of my favourite matches where Parramatta's won, and I'm going to give you some of my memories on the game and why I consider it one of my favourite ever Parramatta matches where they've won. And I'm going to go through the list shortly. The list is going to be in no particular order. It's just 10 or so of my favourite matches as a Parramatta fan where they've won. I've been a Parramatta supporter all my life, if you haven't already known. It's been mainly lows with the occasional high, but mainly lows. But I'm going to go through the list now with you. So the first match that I've chosen is against Newcastle, and it was the first week of the final, so the qualifying final in 1999. So Newcastle back then were a good side. We were also a very good side, and we met in the qualifying final in 1999 at Parramatta Stadium. Whoever won that match would get the week off and go straight to the preliminary final. Now, I've never liked Newcastle as a club, and especially 2 years prior, we played them in the first week of the finals in 1997, and we were up 20-0 at half time, and we ended up losing 28-22. And I never got over that game. I never forgotten it. So when we played them 2 years later, Newcastle had the likes of Andrew Johns, Matthew Johns, and all the other players that had. Billy Peden was another one that I remember. And we went out there, and it was a bit of a tough match. It was in the balance for the most part, but towards the end of the game, we ended up powering our way ahead, and we ended up winning 30 points to 16. And I remember, even though we were knocked out in the preliminary final, it was one of the highlights of the year, beating Newcastle at Parramatta Stadium in front of a nearly sold out crowd. Now, another match that I really like, that I remember very fondly, was round 21, 2001, when we played against North Queensland. Now, that year we were runaway minor premiers. We broke all kinds of records which still haven't been broken today by other teams. And we played against the North Queensland side. Back then, North Queensland weren't that great. They struggled towards the bottom of the ladder. But we ended up playing, in my opinion, the perfect game. I'm pretty sure no matter who you go for, everyone's seen their club just have like a perfect game where now went wrong. And this particular day at Parramatta Stadium, Parramatta played the perfect game. Everything stuck. All the tries worked out fine. We hardly dropped the ball, hardly missed a tackle, and we ended up winning 62-0 at Parramatta Stadium. So, sorry Nick from Australia, I know that you're a North Queensland fan, but I didn't know you back then, so I'm sure I can get by with this victory. The third one on my list is 2003. This was towards the back end of the year where we played Cronulla. So both clubs couldn't make the finals. We played at a wet and miserable Parramatta Stadium on this occasion. And for the first sort of half of the match, things were kind of living up to the billing of two clubs that weren't going to make the finals. And then all of a sudden, Cronulla get two people sent to the sin bin. One of them, David Peachey, which was a rarity because David Peachey never did anything bad on the field. So in the second half, two of Cronulla's players ended up getting sent off. So first one was David Peachey, and then Dale Newton was sent off. And Parramatta ended up winning 74 points to 4, which is our biggest ever victory over anyone. And Jamie Lyon scored a club record 5 tries. I remember watching that game and I was thinking, what's just happened here? It just seems that every time we get the ball, we're scoring a try. And to score 74 points in the modern era over a team, even though they were down to 11 men, I mean, there was quite a lot of tries scored. I'm pretty sure you can get the game on YouTube or some highlights package that someone's uploaded. Another match that I've chosen was in 2005. This one was also against Newcastle. As I said in the earlier bit of the video, I've never really liked Newcastle. And this match happened after the 2001 Grand Final, where we were the best team all year and lost to Newcastle in the Grand Final. This occasion, we were minor premiers again, and we met Newcastle towards the back end of the year where they were certain to get the wooden spoon, and we played them up in Newcastle. And like against North Queensland, we played the perfect game. Everything went right, and we ended up winning 50 points to nil. So we kept them scoreless for the whole 80 minutes, and we played the perfect game. And I still remember it to this day how happy I was to see Newcastle lose 50-0. Then in the same year, we played against Canterbury, the defending premiers, at Parramatta Stadium in 2005. This was also towards the back end of the year. Canterbury were looking likely not to defend their crown. And as I said, we played them at Parramatta Stadium, and once again, we just played a perfect match. Everything went right, and we ended up winning 56 points to 4. And the match is remembered for Piggy Riddell. He got the ball, and as a hooker, and considering the physique of Piggy Riddell, he probably couldn't even run 10 metres. On this occasion, he beat about 3 or 4 players, run past William Mason and scored next to the post. And then he did some sort of crazy breakdance and then threw the ball into the crowd. And then also in that match, Tamara Tahu scored a hat-trick. And when he scored his third try, he got the ball and he dunked it over the crossbar. So that's something that I always remember. And to win like that over our arch rivals makes it even better. Another match that I've picked out is 2010 when we played against Melbourne. This match was also at Parramatta Stadium. It was the first meeting that we had against Melbourne after the grand final. It was also the first meeting after Melbourne were handed their punishments for the salary cap, where they deliberately and willfully breached the salary cap between 2006 and 2010. Once again, for some reason, most of these matches involves rain and cold and all that keeper, so there wasn't too many people inside the ground, but it was a very intense atmosphere. And I remember every time Melbourne got the ball, they were booed. And then there was a couple of incidents between Jared Hean and Billy Slater. The first one was where Jared Hean headbutted Billy Slater, and then in the second half, Billy Slater elbowed Jared Hean in the face, and then Daniel Mortimer got sent to the sin bin. And we ended up winning that match 24 points to 10. So overall, unfortunately, Melbourne's always had sort of the wood on us, so to speak, but on that particular night we had it over them, and it was a good feeling to beat Melbourne. Another one I've picked is 2014. So we played against Eastern Suburbs, who were the defending premiers. We'd just come off back-to-back wooden spoons, and I was at this match at Parramatta Stadium, and we ended up winning 14 points to 12. It was a good crowd, a crazy atmosphere inside the ground, and with about 2 minutes remaining, Eastern Suburbs got the ball, and Sonny Bill Williams looked for all money to score a try, and for some miracle, Jared Hean, last line of defence, managed to hold him up. The crowd went absolutely crazy, and we ended up winning 14 points to 12. And what made the win really special was Eastern Suburbs were the defending premiers, and also the last time that we played Eastern Suburbs was in 2013, and I think they beat us by about 50 points, maybe even more than that. So it was a good feeling to actually be a competitive side again and to beat Eastern Suburbs with the defending premiers. Another match I've picked out is round 7 2006 against the West Tigers at Parramatta Stadium. So this match was the match where Brian Smith's reign was sort of coming to an end as the coach. He'd been our coach since 1997, and we had a really poor start to the year, and the fans and the club and everyone was turning on him. And basically, it was said before the match, if Brian Smith doesn't win this game for Parramatta, that he's going to be sacked in the morning. So I think the fans really got behind the team on this occasion, and a ground record crowd of 21,141, me included, went to this match. It was standing room only if you didn't have a seat. At this stage, Parramatta Stadium had been refurbished, so both hills had been turned into all-seaters. So it's the official ground record for an all-seater Parramatta Stadium. And we ended up beating West Tigers 28 points to 16. And it was just a good feeling to see all the Parramatta fans there getting behind their team, getting behind Brian Smith, and we ended up coming away with a win. And I just remember how packed the ground was, and it was an amazing atmosphere. Then in 2007 we played against Canterbury Bankstown in the elimination final at the Olympic Stadium. So we hadn't played Canterbury in a finals match since the infamous 1998 preliminary final where they come from 18-2 down and beat us 32-20 in extra time. So for years I'd wanted revenge on Canterbury. I wanted to get one over them. And this particular night, it was a tight match early on, but then I think one of the big turning points of the match was Sonny Bill Williams went for a shoulder charge, which was legal back then, on Nathan Hindmarsh, and he either popped his shoulder out or he did something to his arm. So we got taken off the field. He wasn't coming back, and we ended up just powering away. We just steamrolled Canterbury, and we beat them 25 points to 6 in front of 50,000 fans at the Olympic Stadium, ANZ Stadium. And I remember going home, I was dead happy, and I considered it, we were even with Canterbury there. All that pain from losing in 1998 and then beating them in 2007 was a smashing feeling. And then the last game on my list that I've chosen is obviously the 2009 preliminary final. We went on that amazing run to the grand final. We come up against Canterbury Bankstown, our arch rivals, in the preliminary final. Canterbury were the favourites to win this game despite the fact that we'd been on this amazing run because they'd come second during the year. And the ground record crowd for a non-finals match showed up at ANZ Stadium. It was about 74, nearly 75,000 people. And what made this match special, which I really liked, is that the NRL kind of segregated the fans. So one half of the pitch was, one after the stand was Parramatta, and the other half of the stand was Canterbury. So it was kind of like, especially over here in England and some other European countries in South America, they segregate the fans so they don't kill each other and there's no crowd trouble. But it's not common in the NRL to segregate people. So it was an amazing atmosphere. You got half the stadium with all the Canterbury flags and all the other half of the stadium with Parramatta flags. And I remember the game was really tight early on. Canterbury scored and then Jared Hean slid in with his knees to try to stop the try, and he was put on report, and I was really nervous, and I went, fuck, even if we make it to the final, we're not going to win without Jared Hean. And then in the second half, we just clicked in the gear. We used all the momentum that we had over the last, you can see, 3 months, and we ended up beating Canterbury 22 points to 10 to reach the grand final. And it was, I'd say it's probably one of my favourite ever matches ever. And it was just such an amazing feeling to be in a grand final and then to experience that whole week and go through all the emotions of your team being there on the last day of the year. And it was also a smashing feeling to once again beat Canterbury, because even though we beat them in 2007, I went, that 1998 final really fucking hurt. So to ruin their season and to make them know what it feels like to be, the person that the club that's supposed to win, and for us to come and spoil the party, it was just a smashing feeling. So that's me video on some of my favourite Parramatta Eels victories, wins and matches. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, share, subscribe to my channel, click that notification bell. And if you have a spare moment, go over to Rugby League History. That's my Facebook page. I'll put a link in the description below. And also I've got my Instagram page, and I'll put a link next to the Facebook link. So thank you for watching, everyone. Look after yourselves, and I'll catch you all later. Ta-ra.